Let's bring it on because she's a fan of the channel, and she asked this yesterday. And I'll start with you. But she basically says, for the company in general, if you could give a letter grade, what would it be? If not an A+, what would you like them to do to improve that grade to that level? Now, I'm assuming Aaliyah is referring to basically since Chapek took over.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll kind of use that as kind of like the point of reference. We'll say since Chapek took over to now, what would you say? What grade would you give the company?
It's kind of funny because when I first read this, I must have missed the company part. I thought she was actually referring to my Disneyland experience overall. But okay. The company.
It's hard because there's so many moving parts. It's a huge thing to kind of put into one little, but
yeah, there really are. I would have to say, I think it mirrors my maybe like a C+. And the reason I say this, I know it's kind of harsh. The reason I say this is, look, we have a lot of cuts at the park right now, and the parks are going towards a direction that make people, especially long-timers like myself, very uncomfortable. And it's a short-term game that I'm seeing with the company in general, and not really a lot of long-term decisions being made. And that's really unfortunate. That kind of hinders its overall health in my eyes. We're seeing cuts in the cruise line. We're seeing cuts in the parks themselves. We're also, and we might be seeing cuts to major film and television production down the line, which could hurt. The kind of, with so much drama with the ScarJo thing and stuff like that, so unnecessary. It's like, why couldn't you have handled that before it got to that point? You see talks of yields. You see this kind of consumerist, kind of corporatist atmosphere going on, and not really the Disney we've come to expect and know and love from previous years past. All those things, I think that's where I would place it right now.
Okay.
What's your opinion?
We're not too far off, actually. We're not too far off. I'd give him a little higher, but not much. I'd give him a B-. I'd give him a B-. I'll give Chapek credit for steering the company through the pandemic, because a lot of companies are not faring as well as Disney right now.
That's very true.
We could have been in real hot water right now.
Yeah.
A lot worse than we are. We complain about, trash cans and things like that. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of companies that didn't survive the pandemic. There's a lot of companies that are barely hanging on. And Disney, for the kind of businesses they're in, which, theme parks and things like that, cruise lines, it's
TV sports.
Right. It's actually very much weathering this kind of storm pretty decently. It's pretty stable, which is impressive considering they're coming off of the big $71 billion Fox buyout. So
right, and they have to pay interest on that debt, and they have to do that kind of stuff. The fact that they're whole, you got to give up to Chapek.
You got to give him credit for that. So I do give him credit for that. I do take points off though for the ScarJo thing. I don't necessarily. Here's the thing with ScarJo. I'm kind of divided on a little bit, but
sure,
I don't necessarily blame him for walking away from the negotiations, because we don't really know the whole story. It's clear we don't know the whole story.
That's very true. Yeah.
So it's hard to really say like he's the bad guy, she's the good guy. We don't really know. I don't blame him for that, but I think on a PR level, he botched it.
Two things: that response, and not dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and letting it get to that extent. That was an oversight more than I think anything else. To your point, but we really don't know that whole story, so for sure. But that response, come on, can't have that happen.
You can't have it happen. So I took off points for that. Yeah. I give him credit and kudos for, I like the overall idea. Implementation is a little different, but the idea of their technology focused vision for the parks. Look, I get it. Like the website, the IT, the crashes. It's problematic. There's no doubt about it. There's no excuse for it. But I like the idea that they're diving headfirst into technology. I think that's what Walt would want. I think he would have embraced new tech and how that influences how we experience the parks. I think that's a good thing. Bob Iger really started that tech-driven future, and I think Chapek, to his credit, is continuing that. I think they need to do that to stay relevant.
Sure.
The execution of it has been mixed. I mean, we saw yesterday with the Magic Key rollout, the website's crashing, people waiting like 7 hours to get a Magic Key. That stuff needs to stop. Disney needs to get their act together in terms of that and really start to implement a system that they can really look. People are begging you, take my money. And you can't take their money. I mean, that should not even be an issue. So I give them credit for the technology-driven vision and focus they have. I think they should revolutionize the way the parks are experienced. I just think some of the implementation, the execution of it has been poorly run. Mm-hmm. So overall, I mean, I'd give them like a B-. I don't think it's been spectacular, but I think it could have been a far bigger shit show than what we've gotten with the pandemic and all that.
No, that's true. That's true. Look, you have to add in those circumstances, and some things were within their control, and some things were clearly out. Yeah. And the ability to kind of manage all that and handle all that, you got to give them some credit here, folks. I mean, look, there's a huge company. They could have easily sold off, maybe not unprofitable divisions, and kind of parsed themselves out that way just to stem the tide of as many losses they were incurring, but they didn't. And now we're entering back into the realm of profitability. And God, to come out of it mostly unscathed, just in terms of a company standpoint, when it comes to how big they are and how diverse they are in terms of their portfolio, that is extraordinary.
Yeah. And I don't know if some at home probably might not even remember this. I mean, I was pretty young even. I mean, but like Disney was right before Michael Eisner, those early 80s up until Michael Eisner took over. Disney was in some dire straits. I mean, there were a lot of other companies, I think some Japanese corporations kind of circling, maybe we should buy the parks, maybe we should buy the movie. And Disney was really in a position in those early 80s of being split up and sold off into pieces, something like that could have happened. I mean, just as easily now with the parks being closed. Disneyland was closed for a year and some change. The stock price tanked. It was the stock price in the beginning of the pandy is like half of what it is now. It was like $75 or something, wasn't it? Or $80.
It went down a hell of a lot, and I kept telling people, you might want to buy this because we're never going to see this low again. And if you did, you pretty much doubled your money because it went right back up. Which, by the way, our buddy Hedge knows all about that.
Shout out to our boy Hedge. Come on, Hedge.
Cheaps. Yeah. I love that guy on Twitter. Follow that guy on Twitter. He's awesome. Hilarious. But look, I mean, it was, when that happened and you saw the stock price just tank, it was kind of a scary time.
Yeah.
Look, and to your credit about Michael Eisner, like when he came in, Disney was just coming off of the green mailers and people circling, trying to buy up Disney shares and shortchange it and stuff like that, and it was kind of a critical time when Walt Disney died. Corporations like RCA and stuff like that were circling around and saying, "Oh, maybe we should buy the parks division and all that kind of stuff," and they had to stave that off. Michael Eisner again had to stave off Comcast potentially buying out Disney because of ESPN and stuff like that, the Disney War. So it is extraordinary. That could have happened again. And we did hear kind of rumblings about, Apple, maybe adding something else to their monopoly, so to speak. That didn't happen. So, look, I know a lot of people are upset about some of the certain decisions that have been made and so forth regarding the parks and other divisions and stuff like that. But look, Chapek, for all of his foibles, for all of his, for all of what we criticize him on a daily basis on, it seems like one of the very good things is that he is in the good graces of Wall Street, and he is keeping that stock price as high as it possibly can be, which is good for staving off buyouts and acquisitions and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
each their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in terms of her question, her second question, what would you like them to do to improve the grade? There's a couple of things I think that Chapek could do that I think would very much bring them up a few points.
Mm-hmm.
The ScarJo thing was a big black eye. Whether or not you agree with ScarJo, whether or not you don't agree with ScarJo, it was still a black eye. It was a PR mess. It was a mess in terms of how Disney's perceived in the industry, all kinds of stuff. He needs to repair some of that.
Yeah.
So he should make a mission, make it a goal right now to reassure talent. Yeah. When you come sign up for the Walt Disney Company, we got your back. This is a one thing. This was an isolated incident, but just know when you sign up for the Walt Disney Company, we honor our deals, we honor our contracts. It was the pandy's going on, and that was an unusual circumstance, but we will honor our contract. Really, kind of shore up those relationships. I think that's very, very important. Another thing related to that end of the industry is I think that they need to really reconsider that Kareem Daniels position. I think that position has caused a lot of issues for them.
Yeah.
It caused, I think, a little, not even a little, a lot of drama with Pixar because the films are just going straight to D+. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just Pixar is all going to D+, but then Raya the Last Dragon gets Premier Access. That position that Kareem Daniels is running, and no, I'm not like throwing shade at Kareem. He's a competent executive. Obviously, I've seen his resume. The dude is smart. He knows what he's doing, but it's the position that's the issue. Yeah. I think Chapek needs to reconsider that role and not maybe just eliminating it and bringing it back to the way it was. Yeah. You don't want to have various studios upset and have like chips on their shoulders because their work isn't going to theaters and other studios are. I think that creates a lot of drama. Unneeded drama. So get rid of that. I think that could help the grade. And also just kind of come out. I think Chapek really needs to come out and try. I know it's hard because Iger was like this superstar, like charismatic, handsome, kind of everything guy, but try to talk to fans more, try to be there on the fan level and be like, hey, look, I know a lot of you don't like me or whatever, but hey, I'm going to do whatever I can do to make sure that the creatives in this company have everything they need to do what they need to do. And I love this company just as much as you do. And let's do this, let's work together and really kind of just reassure the fandom. I think that'd be really important. If he does those things, I think that would be a really good start to getting them back up. What do you think?
No, I think, I think I would agree with you on that. It's relationships, really, right? Maybe having as, how should I word this? Maybe reevaluating your relationships with Wall Street, with the fans and with talent and with maybe your creatives as much as you would with Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
Because that relationship's just fine and dandy. But it's these other guys that putting out the product and supporting it in the instance of the fans, that maybe those things should be shored up because a lot of people feel dejected all across the board. I've heard morale. We talked about cast members, but morale amongst Imagineers and the morale amongst these various studios, I have heard is down. Yeah. That needs to be improved.
Yep.
For sure. I think that needs to happen. Now, look, this speaks to another kind of wider issue, but I'll mention it here. Some of what the ScarJo thing was about was Chapek being an outsider to the Hollywood industry and wanting to rattle those cages, elicited a response from the Hollywood establishment, for lack of a better term, that they didn't like. And his view was simple. Look, listen, you've been very empowered as artists and creatives to do whatever you want, but really we should be thinking about what the consumer wants as well and what they're looking for and stuff like that. And so that kind of realignment process that's taken place to put it to put these things into more of a financial perspective and more of a fiscal or fiduciary duty perspective, and not so much like, hey, we're going to spend $200 million to do your crazy art project, but it doesn't make us money kind of thing. Right. That's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And in some instances, I can kind of agree with him on one end. But the other, when you do those kind of things, you're going to get pushback. And the ScarJo thing was an outgrowth of that, amongst other issues that were going on at the time. If you're going to do that, you really got to have a different relationship with talent. You really got to have a different dynamic when working with these creative folks, individuals, to kind of prevent that from happening again, a ScarJo type incident. So he really has to. I would think he really has to reevaluate that talent relationship. Has to reevaluate that relationship with Imagineers and other forms of creatives going forward. I don't want to step too much into the D+ and theatrical debate again, but if we are to have endgame type product, what does that look like going forward? How do we produce that content and stuff going forward in this kind of new age? Obviously, those things have to have a critical eye geared towards them, and I know they're doing that, but that kind of thing. When it comes to like the parks and so forth, that could really improve the grade. Can we bring back entertainment finally? That's bring back entertainment, bring back some of the things that fans have lost over the years. I understand they're going to charge for them now and so forth, but can we at least bring them back? At least have some semblance of these things coming back. And maybe, let's not nickel and dime so much, and reestablish that relationship with fans. That's like, hey, you're not just a piggy bank, you're more than that. We do think of you as kind of this loyal consumer base that has supported these parks for this entire time. And maybe we can do some stuff to incentivize that relationship and dynamic going forward. I think it's a lot of those kind of things. It's just kind of empowering cast, empowering creatives, reestablishing those relationships, and reevaluating the business model going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob Iger was really brilliant, and he did it without even saying a word. But when he stepped in, and Bob Iger he knows what he's doing, man. This guy is a genius. But when he stepped in, he the first few things he did were very fan-centric kind of moves. He bought Oswald back from Universal, right? And that's something like that character at the end of the day, it's not a big buy. I mean, they don't even use him anymore, right? It's kind of sad. I wish they would, but they don't even use him anymore. But it was one of those things where it was like kind of like an olive branch to fans. Hey, I know I'm the new guy, but I get it though. And look, I'm gonna buy all. It was like such a niche kind of nerd moment, but it really kind of won people over in a lot of ways. And then a little bit after that, he bought Pixar, and that kind of built more trust. He did all these moves, whether he did it intentionally or not. I'm pretty sure it was intentionally, but he built the trust of the fandom. And then he bought Pixar, and then he said, hey, you know what? In 2007. We're going to spend $1 billion on DCA. Like, he just knew exactly what the fans were gonna dig, and it's just with Chapek, I don't see that same thing. Now, to be fair to Chapek, he started the job right when the pandy got started, so he's not going to have the resources to kind of do those moves like Bob Iger did. He can't really go in there and go buy something for $4 billion right now. They can't afford it. It's harder. It is harder, and I understand that. But he needs to make some sort of. He needs to reach out a little bit to fans, and just kind of reach out and kind of show us that, hey, look, he's not just about, like you said, thinking of us as piggy banks. He respects the company, the legacy,
Look, I'll tell you how he could do it real fast, right? First off, we've heard these conference calls for a long time now, and some of them are like, oh, yeah, capital expenditures are cut again from the parks. They're cut again, they're cut again, they're cut again. Maybe adding a little bit of stuff back. I'm not saying go $25 billion worth of capital expenditures across the entire company, but maybe getting a little, things like that going again and back again and seeing investment in the parks. At least we know that our money is going towards good things.
Right.
That kind of thing, that outward display of, hey, we're reinvesting into these parks that you love. Okay. That's one. But two, I think he would ingratiate his fans like right off the bat. If he were to stand right in front of Rivers of America and go, guys, you wanted it, it's back. And then have freaking the dragon or something happen behind him and you get that wide shot and Fantasmic's back.
Yeah.
If he could be the face, because right now he's the face of a lot of bad. If he could be the face of some of this restoration, of some of these, better things coming out now that we're coming out of the pandemic, or in some ways, because he was never given an opportunity to really be that Bob Iger kind of person, as you said, right? He was never he was just thrown in this situation where it's like, you either do this or the company fails tomorrow.
Right. We're in the boat and there's like a million holes. There's water coming in and it's survival.
Tough decisions have to be made. We got to throw the baby overboard. It's like, it's all those things. But if you could be part of the rebirth.
Right.
And he did a little bit of that with the reopening of Disneyland. He was actually there for the reopening of Disneyland on April 30th and stuff. And that was a great showing. Yeah. If it can be out in front of hey, we got Shang-Chi coming back in the theaters, or we have Fantasmic coming back, and we be there on October 1st for the 50th celebration in Walt Disney World. I think that would start to really improve that relationship with fans, and ingratiate himself going forward that, hey, look, I'm not only the face of some of the stuff that we might have lost, but I'm also the face of some of the stuff we're getting back.
Yeah, and even stuff coming up, he should really push for the green light or the city approval for Disneyland Forever. Disneyland Forward. Yeah. Because that would be another moment. He can get out there, he can stand in front of the crowd in Anaheim and say, you know what, we're committed to the investment here. This is for the fans. We're going to expand this place. We have big plans. We got a huge vision for Disneyland Resort. We're not done yet. That would excite people. Stuff like that, just, and I think he has an opportunity to do that now that things are kind of, like you said, kind of coming back again. It'll be interesting. It'll be very, very interesting. But, I will say this. I don't know if you guys at home watched that little El Capitan Jungle Cruise premiere. It was on Laughing Place. They have a video on it a few weeks ago when Jungle Cruise premiered. Mm-hmm. But Chapek spoke a little bit on stage, and I think I sent it to you, Dre. I'm not sure though.
I think you did. I think I didn't know the context, but I think I do remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was on stage, and look, he's no Bob Iger. Okay, let's be real, but he's no Bob Iger. But he there was a noticeable difference in how relaxed and how calm and how the way he interacted with the crowd was much more comfortable and confident than it was a year ago. So I don't know if he's going through some sort of public speaking course, maybe. I don't know what, but he was better. That day he was better, and he really connected more than he usually does, and maybe he's improving. We'll see.
I think he was. We got to find that footage and put it in, below or something like that.
I'll put it in the description for sure.
Yeah. He did sound a lot more confident, a lot more cool, casual. Hey, man, I'm with you here, and stuff like that. A lot more personable, and almost relatable in some way. I think he had jeans on and stuff like that. Kind of, he didn't have the jacket like we have so seen him with. He was a little bit cooler, and it was kind of remarkable seeing that version of Chapek after hearing the version of Chapek that was on the the quarterly earnings calls, and after seeing that Chapek of like the launch of Galaxy's Edge in Florida or something like that, it's a completely different kind of feel to him. I think that is good. What I would do if I were him is, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's going to be at Destination D in Florida coming up, I think in November. I think one of the reasons is, no, he wants to be in front of these new launches and these new kind of, rebirths of the parks, and kind of like, hey, look, you know what we're getting, what's coming, but here's more, kind of thing. I think that would really improve his standing. The one final thing that could really improve the company, and I won't get much into it for fear of being canceled. Maybe not be so politically minded with your decision making. I'll leave it there.